Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Giving all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High King of the universe for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for Congregation BINAH, CHOKMAH, and thanking the Most High God for the leadership. Even my brother, Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Saskar, praying that the Most High God be with him, with his family, his household, praying that the Most High God be with all of our elders. Chief Kohath, that the Most High God may heal him, that the Most High God be with all of our brothers and sisters, those of you who listen diligently on a weekly basis. I pray that the Creator of heaven and earth will continue to guide, shield, and protect you, that He'll continue to bless you with the endeavors of your mind that you desire in righteousness. So, grateful to the Creator once again. Also, prayers out for Moreh Yehotzedek, praying that the Most High God be with him, that the Most High God will have compassion and mercy upon him, even while he fights his battle with the disease that he does have. We pray that the Most High God will have mercy upon him and heal him, be with him. We know that nothing is out of the reach of the hands of the Creator. So I pray that the Most High God be with Moreh Yehotzedek, who was a good person to me. So prayers out for you, Moreh, and may the Most High God heal, strengthen you, and protect you. So we're going to move straight ahead, and we're going to go into the portion of Toldot, highlight some points out of it. And for that, I'll pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik Zurishaddai ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praises to the supreme intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Yaakov, Jacob. And due respect to the platform on D.C.B channel platform, spiritual lead, Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Saskar, to the host, Chief Uzael, to the princes, chiefs, Kohanim, Rabbinate, Moreh, brothers and sisters and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem and an early Shabbat Shalom. And I'd like to start off with Adonai Septai Titaku Iti Elatheaka. O Lord, open down my lips and my shall declare thy praise. Last time I was talking about Sarah, and it was just too much to touch on going back over. But I'd like to just go back a little bit into Sarah. But this week's I'll be speaking also in part of the Sidra Toldot, which is generations itself, dealing with lineages. So what I like to go back, before I do that, I like to address the question brother left on the screen, and the reference to about Abraham getting married so soon after Sarah died. It was a two-part question, and also did Mother Sarah die because of what she heard from what Abraham, that she heard concerning Isaac being almost sacrificed. So there are two interesting questions, in that sense, and it brings generate a lot of thought. One would be easier for me to address. The other one would be a lot harder to address for me. And so, first, I like to say that when we read that the great matriarch, Mother Sarah died at 127. We already know Abraham is 137. We also know that Isaac himself is 37 at that same time. We know if we think of any chronological order, we also know that it's after the binding of Isaac when he was almost sacrificed. So if we think it as a chronological order, Isaac's being 37. As we, which I didn't get into in this particular portion, but in the particular Sidra Sarah, that you read that he got married at the age of 40. I don't believe myself, and I haven't seen any midrash concerning that, but probably most likely it's a midrash on everything. But I would say before he would think about a second marriage, normally he'd be trying to secure his future for his son, himself, which is the future. And also, knowing and being a concerned individual, Abraham represents kesed, that's a kindness and loving kindness. And if you're a person that exhibit a type of loving kindness, then you will consider other people even more so than yourself. And so this is my viewpoint on that area there, but like I said, it's easier for me to address, is that normally a mourning, you take a time to mourn and weep, and we don't know how long Abraham actually mourned for Sarah, but I pointed out that it uses the word, he actually came to eulogize her, which seems, which to talk about, as opposed to really boo-hooing, as we would call it today. And then he cried. And the cry, like I pointed out last time, that the cough in the word bocher is actually smaller. And I spoke on it last week. So, and we know in the order of events, he negotiated for a plot of land to bury his dead. So now the main woman is gone. He got rid of Hagar. He almost slew his son Isaac, or he thought he was anyway, about to kill him. So now we're going to the part where I need to secure the future for Isaac, since the Creator had him saved from his father, and trying to carry out a mission that he perceived, to be God's will completely. So that bearing that in mind, I would say that, and where they had to go get a wife for Isaac is about 400 something, between 400 some miles, 500, between 400 and 500 miles away. So it's a good little distance. And knowing that, I don't think he knew Sarah all her life, and she knew him all her life as well. So therefore, I don't see him being, so quick to go and get another woman when he was with her all that time and she was barren, and he was satisfied with just one son from Hagar for 13 years. That it was no other. You don't think him and Hagar had any more relationship period after that, and Hagar wasn't even sent away until Ishmael was roughly about 17 years old. So when we think of that area there, that if he waited that long and he was so loyal to his wife Sarah, then the first thing, he would get a wife for his son. And as we look at it later on, in which I bring out, somewhat in this particular portion, is that Isaac was comforted for his mother, and see if that he was comforted for him, that might have influenced Abraham himself. Now I need to get me a wife again to comfort me. So because though he don't read where he mourned long or how long, the thing is that he still didn't find that comfort that he wanted and needed as a man that's still energetic. So that's my view on that part. Now, the next part in that area that Sarah actually knew what happened, and that's what killed her. Because of finding out that she almost sacrificed my son. Now, that is, I'm familiar with the midrash on it, but I don't like the way the midrash go and what a lot of the sages say. But so this is coming from my background that we don't know exactly how soon Sarah died, but they was gone for at least 3 days before they recognized and found the spot. So it's a good distance traveling. 3 days traveling, and then there's the mountain right there, and then taking time to come back, and they didn't come back together. That's either the midrash make it sound like she died immediately hearing about it before Isaac made it back, and sometimes you could make one of these things about Genesis, when you have so many missing pieces, you could say, could it possibly be if Isaac came back and told his mother about the events that almost happened to him in life, that she was in such a state of shock that she passed out from heart failure in a state of shock. That's the way I would like to believe myself. This is just my view on it, that if he came back and said what Abba was what my father was about to do to me, and that could have gave her a shock, and that was set up a stage that the boy Isaac feel like me telling this killed my mom? Oh, I got to go off to myself. So you could paint all kind of different stories. I just painted a story for you in that vein, because the midrash painted a story as well. But I like the midrash paint the story. But we really, in essence, don't know. And she wasn't sickly or anything. She just left. So they noticed that after this event, it would be traumatic. And I can't see Abraham disclosing, well, the reason we left the day because so and so happened. I cannot see him doing it, but if he did do that, hence it could be the same results. So I rather believe it's either from that incident, looking at the book, and it happened, or either it was just a time. But I'll give you two different scenarios. Either Abraham came back and told her, which I really find it hard for him to, for a man to tell his wife at that age, the son that she wanted all her life, and that he wanted all his life, he was about to slay him. That's kind of traumatic. And also, I think, my perspective would be Isaac bringing it back to her, as opposed to the way the midrash brings that she got this information after he left. And so we're going to pick up. So I'm going to move on because there's a lot in this next story. But I hope I address your question. It may not be the answer that's totally satisfactory or satisfactory at all, but nevertheless, that's my understanding concerning that particular portion and that question. So So now I would like to go back. Oh, Toldot, just before I know I'm not going to cover everything. The portion Toldot with generations, it starts at the 25th chapter of Genesis, the 19th verse, and it continues all the way over to the 28th chapter, 9th verse of Genesis, before we go into another portion. And just to highlight some things, we're going to talk about the birth of Jacob and Esau, and it covers about Isaac and his encounter, concerning his wife. It covers an encounter of Esau's wives, and Isaac blessing Jacob. And then after that, it goes, Rebecca complained about the wives of a son, Esau. And then the final thing, Jacob's get ready to leave the land to go get a wife. So what's interesting in this particular two portions of several portions, but even going back to YAH, is that it's always about a lot of food taking place. It's always about a lot of women being in place, and stuff like that. And so it's always about childbirth in place. So many different stories and all that. And then there's a lot of other areas too, which I won't be able to get into in this particular setting. But probably come around and focus on another area in this particular schedule, like I try to do every year. Focus on another point. Excuse me. So I'm going to go back to the 24th chapter of Genesis. And it says, and Abraham was old, well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. Now, when you're talking about in all things, because part of the what we call Birkat Hamazon, the blessings after the meal, and let you know that Abraham himself was blessed, and it says Bechor for him. It says Michal, Isaac is, was was saved from everything. And then you get, he's blessed from it, being very saved, protected from everything. And then with Jacob, the word call, which is in everything, or just everything rather, just call everything. So what do I mean by Jacob? I mean, Abraham was blessed in all things. Now they got an interesting spin on the word "recall" in rabbinic literature, which I'm not going to go into, but just in the simple meaning, is that he was promised to be a blessing to all people, and through him all nations will be blessed. So, and he also got blessings. So it's interesting that. And they talk about old, but they uses Aquin. He's the first guy that's called old. Noah, who started his journey, and working on an ark, he already in his 500 year. So when he started in his 500 year, none of the people on the other side or before this time, even after the Mabu, the flood, it's called old. So Abraham's the first individual that's called old. And when we think of old, it's a big difference. Because Zaquim, or Zakin as some people say, means an elder. And sometimes certain circles, they could say an ancient one. But it don't mean that something become antiquated or outdated in a sense. In other words, where a chair get old, you're ready to get rid of it. Clothing wax old, it's ready to get rid of. People, and they use a different word for that in Hebrew. But when it comes to people itself, they become vintage. They become more precious as they get older. So this is some of the things to know that in that the perspective of what we consider elders in most Eastern cultures, the older people, and even some African, and a lot of African cultures as well, that eldership is a badge of honor. Just like the hoary head is a badge of honor. All right, so I want to go a little bit further. And it said, and second verse, and Abraham said unto his servant, the elder of his house, that ruled over all that he had, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that thou shalt not take away for my son of the daughters of Canaan, of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. All right. Now, what's interesting, before I go to the fourth verse, you're there because you're on a mission. But your mission is not to make a real relationship, though you had confederates with other people, the Philistines, you know, and you have, a sort of understanding with the people of Sodom. And yet, you yourself and the Hittites, you was definitely considered related, with the Hittites. These are people of Canaan. These are the ones that sold you your burial plot. And yet, they respected you greatly. And you said, they're not good enough for my son. Yeah, for this particular son, Isaac. That care was never taken for Ishmael. That care was never taken for any children you get after that. Only this particular one individual, Isaac. And through this whole saga, which is interesting, which I'm going to just try to go through it briefly as quick as possible. Through this whole saga, we don't have any name of the servant mentioned here. It's more about his job than about his. It's more about his job. Got to switch from coffee to water. Excuse me. So it's more about his job than and about his name. His name is not that much important. Now, most commentaries, on the rabbinic literature, they'll say Eliezer of Damascus, which was born in his house. So now, I would lean towards that, but definitively, since the book don't mention that, the possibility exists that it could be somebody else. And the reason I would say it could be by somebody else, because various laws that we have, if a master, if a master give a servant a wife and this servant have children, then the children belong to the master. And we're going to get to something similar to that later on, which I will address when I get the Yaakov and his father-in-law, Laban. So I would say, but though I would lean and say it could be Eliezer of Damascus, born in Abraham's house, because he was geared up and raised up, and also like a replacement for Lot, because Lot had left off, which was family. So, but just thinking and analyzing, you can say, okay, if he's born in the house, who was his mother and who was his father? That's important. Because if he's a servant, and Abraham came into the Canaan land, all the souls he had, they had gotten, him and Mother Sarah, then Eliezer's father or mother was in the household. And when they say a senior or an older servant in there, then that would kind of raise a lot of questions and eyebrows. Why should this be Eliezer? Because then there's other people there older than him, including his mother and father. If he's born in Abraham's house, I'm using the premise that he's born in the house, That means he's born in the house. That means the mother had to be a servant, or the father, or both. So that's just something, my spin on it, for the, address the name. 4th verse. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife for my son, even for Isaac. And the servant said unto him, peradventure, the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son back unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, beware that thou bring not my son back thither. So you're going to send a guy to a place that he's familiar with. So most people think it's Eliezer because he's from Damascus. Also, his parents is from Damascus. So when we think about the time Abraham got into the land of Canaan, he come in the land at 75. So at this stage of the game, you figure he's getting close to 40. So you could possibly have a guy close to his age bracket in there as well. That's older than Eliezer. But nevertheless, this is what he wanted to do, even though it's a trusted individual. And Abraham said unto him, beware that thou bring not my son thither. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my nativity, and who spoke unto me, and who swore unto me, saying, unto thy seed will I give this land. He will send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife for my son from thence. 8th verse. And if the woman be not willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only thou shalt not bring my son back thither. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning the matter. Before I go to the 10th verse, before we take an oath, and we can learn a lesson from this, before an oath is made, you got to see if I can carry this out. We just say in the street, word be bond. And the thing is that we can make a lot of people make oaths, and they disguise them sometimes, like every year. New Year's resolution, and a resolution. They're going to resolve to try to change some things, but they not committed to that thing, to that degree. But Abraham asked him to do this here, not to get a wife. And he said, strange. He didn't even say, well, let me check with Isaac first. Let's see what kind of wife he would like, what kind of woman he would love. Abraham making this designation, this call, and he leaving it in the hands of the servant. So the reason I like this story, because this is one of the longest stories in the whole Genesis story, and it changed. But I just want to fast forward a little bit. I'm not going to read every little detail because it's just too long, and I won't get into Toldot. So, but I want to highlight certain points. All right. So after he did that, then he went back over across to get a wife for Isaac. So Abraham, we know automatically what Abraham had told them. Just basic. He said, "My country, we got to be a country from my country, and my kindred." That's it. That's the kind of wife. He said, long as she's related for a Syrian. That's all. All she got to be is a Syrian and family. That's it. And that's what we read here. And that's a broad spectrum for you going to get a wife for your master's son. And he didn't say anything about how she should look or anything like that. So we're going to find out just a little bit more. So after the guy made the trip in the 11th verse, and he made the camels to kneel down without the city by the well of water at the time of evening, the time that women go out to draw water. He can raise a lot of issues concerning that. I mean, bring out a lot of perspectives. And he said, "O Lord, the God of my master, Abraham, send me, I pray thee, good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master, Abraham." All right. Now, what I find interesting, and I like to point out in this particular thing going forward, is that he never said, "You're my God, you're my Lord." I don't know you like that. But I'm on this mission. I seen my master doing well, but I'm on this dynamic mission. So he said you did all this for him. I don't know you like that. So therefore, I know you're always supposed to pray to somebody that's higher than you. My master is high, and he sent me on this mission. I swore on an oath, I believe in spiritual retribution. So that means the guy is spiritual already. I believe in a spiritual retribution if I fulfill my obligation. And yet he goes and says, it ain't about me. It's about him. The one that been telling us all the time that you had him coming on a mission. And this is more so his request, not mine in that sense. But I want to be successful because I understand and love him. Love my master. Sound like something we read about in Exodus. All right. So this is a man, Abraham, showed his standing with most people. It said, and show kindness unto my master. In other words, do that for him, not on my behalf, but on his behalf. And behold, I stand by the fountain of water, and the daughters of men of the city come out to draw water. So let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down a pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink, and she shall say, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that that thou hast appointed for thy servant, even for Isaac, and thereby shall I know that thou hast shown kindness unto my master. In other words, he asked that my master is kind. I want a woman that exercises that kind of kindness. My master is hospitable. I want the woman to have that kind of hospitality. So it's normal to give a person a drink of water, but it's not normal to fill up the livestock with water, and you be responsible for, drawing water for the livestock. So that's going far and beyond, the call of duty, so to speak, in hospitality. But he asked for that. Said, it ain't so much how she looked that I'm concerned. I'm interested more in her character, because this woman gonna be over the household, after my master passed. So therefore, I want somebody that has that kind of character, and of course the respect I have for my master on this journey, and also give me quick speed so I could come here. It was a long trip, and I got, instead of me searching, and it goes on to say, and it came to pass before he had done speaking that, behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, and her pitcher upon her shoulders. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, which they used to term Bethulah. Neither had any man known her. And she went down to the fountain and filled her pitcher and came up And the servant ran to meet her and said, give me to drink, I pray thee, a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, drink, my lord. And she hastened and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I would draw for thy camels also until they have done drinking. And she hastened and emptied her pitcher into the trough and ran again unto the well to draw water and drew for all his camels. And the man looked steadfastly on her, holding his peace, to know whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden ring, half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets up for a hand of 10 shekels of weight of gold, and said, whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore unto Nahor. She said moreover unto him, we have both straw and provenders enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed his head and prostrated himself before the Lord. And he said, blessed be the Lord God, the God of my master Abraham, who have not forsaken his mercy and his truth towards my master. As for me, the Lord had led me in the way to the house of my master's brethren. All right, I'm gonna stop there, and in that particular area there, because there's just so much stuff I want to highlight in that area there. And one of the things to think about is that first his prayers answered before he finished speaking in his heart, talking to the Creator. Also, that he already had the rewards for her kindness. He didn't. Normally when you see a camel, and I spoke on it before, a camel on empty is 25 gallons of water they can drink on empty. So that's like 250 gallons if you got 10 camels. And can you imagine how much water had to be drawn? 250 gallons. So that's at her feet. And then she only did that after he had finished drinking. I'm sitting around and see, and you need me to do anything else before I move on, you know? So, and I'm suggesting if you're thirsty, and the way you look, you must come from a journey. So this is what she did. And God had put it in her heart to do that. Now, coming from a background where she's from, and I would, but Laban, we know the whole story. He changed the story around. He identified a girl first and gave her the stuff when he was in the presence of family. And they tried to delay him, but he wanted to get back in time. So we know that I'm going to fast forward into when he returns back home with Rivka. And I'm going to skip all the way down because just too much. But in the presence, the people, and I'm skipping to the 57th verse because they wanted him to tarry into the morning. So I'm going to skip down to 57th verse of the same chapter, 24th chapter. And it said, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah, and she said unto her, and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah, their sister, and a nurse, and Abraham, servant, and his men. Now, it should have said his sister. So that means must be other family members other than, because definitely the sister of the mom. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, Our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and let thy seed possess the gates of those that hate them. That's a blessing that they put upon, their family member, Mother Rebekah. So they blessed her and said that not only that, your children should be great, going back there in that area there. So it's kind of, wow. When you think about that, and what God promised Abraham and what they promised his children, you wonder the like minds, like spirits. Because remember, she come from a house of idol worship. She come from a house of con or artists. And we always say the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. But yet she was, though she had that kind of background in the family that she come from, and when you read the whole story carefully and how they changed it around and everything like that, and which I will highlight maybe in intricate parts at another time, is that it's not where you come from matters as much as who you are at the time. That's what you can always rise above, your surroundings. And she was able to rise above that. And they asked her the question. We go with them. Now we know they already agreed, according to the story, that this is ordained from God, because we can't say not anything against it. And they agreed to let the woman go. So why the delay? Well, when you get a hint later on, a celebratory time, because she's going someplace that she most likely will never come back. So they want to send her off royal, and it might need time for that, which was pretty much an Eastern custom. But so much for that area there. But you notice, also I want to point out something going forward, I always point it out every year, is that when in the book is described as a virgin, Bethulah, but the first time, they use, Alma, is when he's talking to her concerning, the actual people. So the word changes for the term that the servant used. So you might want to look at that word that's used there. All right, so I'm going to move straight ahead into the last part of that when they get married, because it makes no sense to go past that without talking about that area. So, in the 64th verse, or better yet, before I go there again, all right, in the 62nd verse, and Isaac came from the way of Beer Lachiror, for he dwelt in the land of the south. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the evening tide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, there were camels coming. And Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she alighted from off the camel, and she said unto thy servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant said, This is my master. And she took her veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother's tent, Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her, and Isaac was comforted for his mother. So the way we read the story, we automatically most of the time to say, hey, he went straight to Isaac, never seen Abraham. Abraham sent him on a mission, so he got to report back to the one that sent him on a mission, so to know that he fulfilled his oath, and then continue on to where Isaac is in a nice parade type form. It's a celebratory form. So, but the way we read the book, it would make it seem she came straight there. We had decorum in the East. So even the Europeans during the Middle Ages and beyond, they would, if they didn't bathe but once a year, they usually try to bathe on their wedding day, wedding night. You know how much that would do, but they used to do that. So we know automatically that we had a custom of modesty and cleanliness, because she only covered her face then. And it took her into a mother tent. So it brings another question. Why is it that he's in possession of the tent of Sarah and not Abraham? When Jacob brings an issue later on about defiling his couch by moving in somebody else's tent. So this is another area of a culture that we need to pick up in that area. And then in the 25th verse, then it says, and Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bore him, we read about 6 sons here. All right. And in 5th verse, it says, and Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac, but unto the sons of the concubines that Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and he sent them away from Isaac, his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived 103 years. And Abraham expired and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathering to his people. And Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased of the children of Het. There was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed Isaac, his son, and Isaac dwelt by Beer Lahairah. All right, so and then now we jump into Toldot for the few minutes I got left. Can you imagine? Now we went past the time, because Isaac and Jacob was born. Jacob and Esau was born at this time, and Abraham's died. But it focused on that as this good woman, Sarah, leaves, Abraham tried to enjoy his life. It was never the same, evidently. And he sent them away, the wives of the concubine. So, and gave his children gifts. And you read about one son, Ishmael, burying them with Isaac and deferring Isaac's name first and then Ishmael's name second. And that means they stayed in contact. We understood they stayed in contact. But though he sent them away, they stayed in contact. And the other ones he sent away, and he gave them gifts. Now, it's only natural. Can't tell about the book, but the word concubines in the plural. It's only natural that the sons of the concubines he gave gifts. Hagar was a concubine, number one. Keturah became a wife, but they referred to her as a concubine because it didn't reach the status of Sarah. And if he gave those 6 boys actual gifts, not only sent them off because the way he sent Ishmael and his mother off was really rough. Ishmael had to get a special treatment at that time, and therefore, any hardships or grudges, whatever the case is, that's still his father is respected, and he did honor him, which was along with his younger brother, buried his father. And imagine, and like I always bring out, can you imagine the talk about what goes on at the meeting? He was a good old man. I loved him. But I remember that tragic event when he sent me and my mother off with just bread and water, and I got sick and almost died. And Isaac sharing the story. Well, I can understand that, big bro, because I don't know what stopped him, but he's about ready to cut my throat. At least you were sent away. So this is some of the things that you could consider, at a funeral, and you're honoring the parents, which is the highest honor you can do for a human being. And it's, now I'm just going to go a couple verses in this, and I have to finish this up next week. But I want to just touch on the opening, because in Toldot it says, and these are generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Now that's information we already know. Why bring it up again? There's a lot of talk behind that, but I'm not going to focus on that now, because not only time, but I want to get to another area in it. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel the Aramean, of Paddan-aram, the sister of Laban the Aramean, to be his wife. So we know how old he was. 21st verse. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord let himself be entreated of him. And Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Now, before we get to that very quick, I use the word lenikoach. Lenikoach. Now, the translated here is entreat, but it also means to stand opposite, to be opposite one another. And one of the things you learn from this here particular thing, that if a man married a woman and she's barren and they're trying to have children, and she really wants children, it's not just her alone should be praying. He's supporting her in her prayer and being praying. So Abraham wanted sons, and Sarah evidently wanted sons, but Abraham didn't trouble God with that, being blessing will be there. But Sarah made moves quicker, and hence we got Ishmael. But Isaac, each generation learned a little bit more, and try to correct some flaws of the previous generation. So while his wife was barren, he himself, and we could assume it had to be like 59, because of the age that when the children was born, he's 60, which we find out later, that he supported his wife in the sense of, I feel you're praying. Not only you pray, I'm praying. You stand over here and you pray, and I stand over here and I pray. And God was entreated because of Isaac's prayer. He exercised a certain kind of compassion for his wife. Isaac, all the prayers that we read about, when we talk about Shachari, when we talk about Minka, and we talk about Mariv, those prayers is taken from the patriots. And the Minka prayer, the only one we really find, with Isaac, when he's saying Lasuach, which means to really have a conversation, to talk. But they translate as meditating. So when we look at this area there, he supported his wife in that area and prayed, and he's entreated for that. Because to God, listen to him. He come from a good mother and a good father. Mother Rivka is a good stock. But her parents and her brother was not such a great family. So Isaac had a great family all around him. His mother and his father are great. And here it is that after several generations, because Rivka would be Abraham's grandniece. So you're talking about 3 generations down. That, okay, got somebody that's good. And that 3 generations comes from Nahor. So, and good enough to be a matriarch for the people of God. So, and it goes down and says, 22nd verse, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, wherefore do I live? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, two people shall be separated from thy bowels, and one people shall be stronger than other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when the days of delivery were fulfilled, behold, there was twins in her womb. And the first came forth, ruddy all over like a hairy mantle, and they called his name Esau. And after that came forth his brother, and his hand held on his heel, Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bore them. So that means it took 20 years after the marriage to have children. So in that prayer, basically, you figure Isaac waited 19 years. That's long enough. 19 years, and he started to really say, okay, you really want children? You over here, I'm over here. We pray and get this thing done. So imagine having your first child at 60 years old. You know, we don't know how old Mother Rivka was, but she's 60, and he's 60 at this time. Isaac. Now, one of the things that going forward, because like I said, I'm gonna finish some of the stuff later on, is that we get that you want children and you complaining about this seem unnatural. Now, also, Rivka came back from Padamaram with a nurse. That's the first time you read about a nurse, in the Tanakh. That's the first time you read about it. It says, Manikta. Manikta from the word meneket, which is a word for nurse. So the nurse, that in other words, that this is a woman that in the East, she was a wet nurse. She helped raise the child up, and almost like a chaperone. So she didn't come without anybody. She came back with the nurse who had to be older than her, because that was her wet nurse. So that means that this woman got some age on her. And she also became part of Jacob's household later on, as we read about. So this is one of the some of the things that we read about in this area here. Now, when we talk about red and hairy all over, hairy gone, children struggling, and two children in the same sack. It ain't like they fighting, though we like to say it. And you could draw that analogy, but I'm struggling to survive, not struggling necessarily to kill you. Now, sharks, when they have, from what I understand, when they have more than one egg and then they hatch, the one that hatched first eats all up the other eggs, so it could be the sole survival. So sharks don't have twins. And usually when you get twins in the ancient world at that time, it always brings about a concern, and because like two halves of one whole. All right, so it's a half here and half here, but they're not considered whole completely. Each one has something that's a little lacking in the other. And what we find here is that in the 27th verse, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter and man in the field, and Jacob was a quiet man, or a plain Tom, dwelling in tents. Now Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, and Rebekah loved Jacob. Now, that's a divided already household. So we learned some social stuff involved in this area here. And the thing is that you love both your children because you happen to have both of them. But the thing is that when they start to mature, now you see like, oh, this one's a little different from the other one. So you tend to say, okay, this one got attributes and characters that I really like, as opposed to the other one. Not that I don't like the other one, but I really love this particular skill this one has. So, and also, this is basically one of the areas here that we find that you have parents divided over which child they like, and they both side to say, both of them. And 29th verse, and Jacob saw a pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said unto Jacob, let me swallow, I pray thee, some of this red polish, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me first my birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. What profit shall the birthright do to me? And Jacob said, swear to me first. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drank and rose up and went his way. So Esau despised his birthright. All right, I just want to bring out this last thing. That's the last part I want to bring out in this particular area, because I don't want to go further. I have to skip over a bit because we find out about the family here. But let me just speak about some things later on going forward. And rational, because Esau gets a bad spill, and I always like to bring out about justice and truth in this area here. Here it is that, and I know with a lot of the, I heard quite a few midrashims and concerning this particular area here, what was going on at the time. But whatever's going on at the time, even according to the midrash thing, a person come hungry. We're supposed to feed the hungry, not bargain before we feed the hungry. And Esau comes from the field faint, so he's not exaggerating. And the term he uses, like, I got to get this down my throat, man. I need to feed me. And it is that you, my brother, your grandfather fed guests that just happened to be stood up right after an actual, circumcision. In the heat of the day, he had plenty of service. Like I said before, he got an entourage of close to 1,000 people. And yet he took upon himself to attend to guests and told his wife to attend and be part of the process, and told the young man, which most likely might have been Ishmael, to be part of the process as well. So he got personal household members, Ishmael, if we don't know for sure, but that's why just throwing it out. But definitely his wife Sarah and himself to be part of the process of preparing a meal to host a guest. And here your brother come back destitute, and them guests didn't look destitute to him. And you want to come up with a deal? Where is your act of kindness? Now, and on the tree, stuff, Abraham supposed to represent Chesed, Isaac supposed to represent Kevorah, and Jacob supposed to represent Teferet. Now, where's the beauty of wondering, drawing, and bringing things together like that, in that sense? And to go further, you're thinking, I'm about a birthright. What is it? We got in our law, in our very law, that the right of the firstborn belongs, the father got to give a double portion to the firstborn. That's law in Leviticus 19:3. I think, am I not mistaken? No, honor, excuse me. Make the correction later. No. Anyway, it's in our book, law. Excuse me, I forget the verse right quick. But the right of the firstborn is actually in the book of law, that it belongs to him, and that you cannot give to another son. Now, if the father cannot give the right of the firstborn to another son, now I know it's before the law is written, but if the father really can't give the right of the firstborn to another son, how do Esau even have the authority to sell something that he has no authority over, to be able to disseminate? And how could Yaakov buy what Esau have no say-so about? So this is something that that you might want to discuss with your teachers in that sense, because if the right of the firstborn according to our law is there, and Esau said, Jacob wanted to buy the right of the firstborn, and it's been dealing with property and everything like that, and more so, it's a lot more in the ancient times too. It covers a lot more, but basically in our law, it's about property. And he was saying, okay, I take it, and make them swear. So you swear that you're going to give me the right of the firstborn for property. Now, there's a lot of other little tales behind that. Some, say he gave money along with the food. We don't know. All right. But anyway, Esau swore. So Esau evidently was a man of his word, because he never, ever come back. And what part of birthright we talking? How much property they own at the time? At the time, the only family heir property would be the field of Ephron and the cave of Machpelah. That'd be the only property there at the time. In the future, they're going to inherit the land, yes. So that's the land property later in the future. But right now, father got some herds, some servants, some gold and some silver. But for us, one spot that they actually have at this particular point in time is only the cave of Machpelah. And I'm looking close. All right. And so as I step and look a little closer in it, Esau ate, and it said he despised his birthright. Now, he despised it. If an average individual would hate the individual that treat him so cold, that's what he would normally do. But if something get in between me and you treat me that bad because of this little issue here, I think it would be much more noble for me not to be angry with you, but angry because this item here came between us and we blood. We family. We're supposed to be one. So when we think of it like that, that brings, a whole nother dynamic between the archetype and the stereotype. The archetype is who the person really is, and the stereotype is who people think they are. You could be around people most of the time, and they think you one way. But that'd be so far from. I've been, stereotyped so much, man, coming up. Coming from, okay, I've been in Zakin and stuff like that from my background. But that stereotype, but most people that stereotype it don't really know the individuals from those particular areas, and haven't really talked and conversed with the individual, got to know the individual. So, and the thing is that, and plus we did a lot of great things in Ben Zakin. That was good. And so here it is that Esau showed a noble area there. Also, a noble area he did with on his father. Did whatever his father did. He got married early at 40. He got other views on it. And not only got married early at 40, which his father did, anything his father asked, he did. He had special clothes in the house so that if he come to the front of the family, mother and father, he would actually go and get, and get decent. One of the things about the honor, and I'm going to speak about it a little bit more as we move on in detail about the blessings. So I'm gonna speak about the blessings a little bit more next week before we get into the next portion. But one of the things I like to speak on in this particular setting a little ahead of time is that when it comes to the blessing, and people always say, it was in the plan of God that Jacob was able to get the blessing. One, we got to go back, and I always like to bring this out. If Rivkah was told that one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger, and this is supposed to be a divine prophecy in itself, what need would she have to use deception and bring her son into a deceptive environment against her husband, which is the man's father, and to get a blessing that she say that he could subvert prophecy? This is something to consider, and I'm gonna go deeper into it next time. That you was told what's going to happen, So if this come from God, the individual source that you got from God, because there's always, a question about who you got it from. And I always say from Shem, or what they refer, a nickname is Melech Sedek, which is Melchizedek, most people say, who lived during that time, who God and Abraham even respected as such, was a priest. Or I doubt you got it from Abraham himself, and we don't read much from the saga, but if people want to believe that, that's okay too. But God wasn't entreated, because when she prayed and he prayed, then that means that it had to be coming from an outside source. She got this information, and evidently she went to work it. And then that means that some of the background influence of the family built it in her gene pool. And Jacob, knowing that when she heard that Isaac wanted to bless Esau, that he said, what I'm going to do, it's going to be deceptive. I'm going to bring a curse upon me instead of a blessing. And the mother say, your curse be upon me, do what I say, and I only follow my voice. You hear me? So how do you choose one parent over another when we don't never see where Esau chose one parent over another? We find parents choosing one son over another. But we didn't find that in that area with Esau, in that sense. We find that area there with Yaakov, choose one parent over another. And that's and the law is honor your father and mother. And then in Leviticus 19:3 is that every man's fear is our mother and father. So when we think of it like that, then it means that he didn't take the actual area of considering my father's less important than my mother. I should have less respect and less honor for him, and let's go along with my mother. And what son would actually want their mother to pay a penalty for something that they did that could be harmful to them? What kind of son would do that? So I'm not trying to bring any disparaging thing. I'm trying to make people aware of truth and stereotypes that people come up with later on. Because whereas a man might have been okay and did you right, and he was done wrong, his children might say, Pops let you go with that. I ain't gonna let you go. We're gonna sign like Gehazi when Naaman came to be healed of his Zerai, which is leprosy, as they translated. And Elisha told him, he didn't need anything, just go on back. But Gehazi said, I ain't gonna let this guy go like that. So, and he went out there and come up with all kind of lies and and knowing he was wrong. So the thing is that we got to look for moral principles when we deal with Torah, and our family is real life family, real life individuals, not superficial individuals when we read the scriptures. So when you find errors in there and you find people actually had their flaws, it's how did they overcome those flaws in the area? And I'll pick up on that next week. I hope you got something on what I say. And any questions in the chat, I'll try to address them the best I can. And I say Shalom Aleichem and early Shabbat Shalom, and any mistakes by my own.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thank you all for tuning in, praying that the Most High God bless you all with good night's sleep. And Yah willing, we'll see each other again next week. Shalom, shalom.
Let's get all his wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing, all praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing, all praises to the Most High, his laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH here to push it through your speakers.